You sit at a simple desk tucked in the corner, watching him from afar. His name is Daniel, tall, with sharp lines to his jaw that match the sharpness in his tone. He moves through the office like a storm, crisp suit, clipped words, eyes that never settle. Every correction he gives is blunt, without cushioning. "Fix this," he says, without so much as glancing your way for acknowledgement. And yet, even in the harshness, you feel an odd tug, a curiosity. The way his hand brushes against papers, precise and deliberate. The way his dark hair falls a little too perfectly, as though he resents the effort it must take to look that controlled. You tell yourself it's silly to notice. He is your boss, not your friend. And yet, when he passes close by, a faint trace of cedarwood cologne clings in the air, and you catch yourself breathing just a little slower, savoring it in secret. Every day you arrive early, arranging your things in perfect lines across your desk. It becomes a ritual. The lavender mug you always place just to the right, the small notebook filled with your tidy handwriting, the quiet way you hum before the office fills. You doubt he notices, or if he does, he never lets on. His voice is clipped in meetings, his criticism sometimes sharp enough to sting long after. But strangely, the sting lingers like a bruise you don't want to fade because it comes from him. Sometimes you wonder what it would be like if he smiled. Not the polite half-curve you've seen him use with clients, but a real, unguarded smile. You imagine it late at night when you're too restless to sleep. You imagine how it might soften the hard lines of his face, how it might light the shadowed corners of his personality. Still, his harshness has weight. One afternoon, he snaps at you for a minor error in a report, his tone clipped, eyes narrowing like a blade. Your chest tightens, cheeks flush, and for a heartbeat you wonder if you'll cry right there in front of everyone. But instead, you steady yourself, clutching your lavender mug like a lifeline. You tell yourself it doesn't matter, that you'll grow from it. And later that night, alone in your apartment, you trace his name in the condensation on your bathroom mirror, then wipe it away before you can scold yourself for the indulgence. There are small human moments that keep you tethered, though. The way he taps his pen twice against the desk when he's thinking. The way his shoulders relax slightly when he listens to music in his office after hours. Once, you pass by and hear faint piano notes spilling from his door, softer than you thought possible for a man so rigid. You pause, breath caught in your throat, until footsteps remind you to move along. It becomes a strange rhythm, his harsh commands during the day, your quiet devotion in the margins. No one else knows how you study the slope of his handwriting when he scribbles notes, or how your heart flutters when he brushes past you to reach for a file. You tell yourself it's just admiration, maybe a silly crush born out of long hours and proximity. Yet in the quieter moments, when you're honest with yourself, you know it's more. One evening, as the office empties, you catch him staring out the window, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. He doesn't notice you at first, and in that unguarded moment, his expression softens. There's something tired there, something almost lonely. For the first time, you see him not as a storm, but as a man holding it all together with brittle strength. You step away quietly, not wanting him to know you saw. But you carry that image with you, the glimpse of the man beneath the armor. And it deepens the ache you already feel, the longing you try so hard to ignore. You still wonder if it's foolishness, or if it's the beginning of something you can't yet name. You arrive early again, lavender mug in hand, and for a moment you almost convince yourself today will feel lighter. But then, in the morning meeting, you notice it, a subtle glint on Daniel's finger, the faint band of metal that catches the overhead light. A ring. Your stomach dips before your mind even forms the thought. He isn't just harsh and untouchable because he's your boss. He's someone else's promise, someone else's dream. Later, you overhear two colleagues whispering near the break room. They speak casually, like everyone knows already. Daniel has been engaged for years to a woman named Claire. They describe her as graceful, elegant, the sort of person who steps into a room and seems instantly at ease. You sip from your lavender mug and pretend not to listen, though every word hooks into you, graceful, elegant, perfect. You tell yourself it shouldn't matter, but a quiet ache settles into your chest, heavier than you want to admit. Still, life in the office goes on. His voice continues to cut across the room, correcting, demanding, never quite satisfied. You try to focus on your work, to swallow down the feelings that swell despite logic. Yet every time his eyes flicker your way, your pulse betrays you. And every time his phone rings and you hear his softened tone, the way he answers with a warmth he's never shown you, you feel a small fracture inside. You try to keep your mind busy, filling notebooks with tidy lists, retyping documents until they're flawless, humming softly when no one's near. But when Daniel passes by, speaking into his phone, his voice changes. It is softer, lower, almost tender. You don't need to hear her name to know who's on the other end. Claire. And though it stings, part of you finds comfort in seeing that gentleness exists within him at all. Once, during a late night at the office, he asks you to stay behind to help finish a presentation. His tone is clipped as always, but his eyes linger a little longer than usual. The hours stretch, and for the first time, he lets a sigh escape, shoulders loosening as the weight of the day slips. He mentions her, casually, almost absently, as though speaking her name out loud confirms she is real and near. He says Claire likes it when things are precise, and the words cut deeper than he knows. You nod, hiding the small shiver that runs through you. You type faster, letting the rhythm of your fingers disguise the way your thoughts unravel. You tell yourself it's enough to see this hidden side of him, even if it's not yours to claim. Still, the human heart rarely obeys reason. You notice the quirks that Claire likely doesn't see. The way he tilts his head slightly when he's confused. The faint crease that forms between his brows when he's tired. The way his fingers drum against his thigh when he's waiting for an answer. Each detail tugs you closer, even as the ring on his finger reminds you there's a line you cannot cross. One morning, he walks in with flowers. Not for the office, of course, for her. A bouquet wrapped in delicate white paper, petals peeking through in gentle shades of pink and cream. You catch sight of them as he sets them on his desk before heading into a meeting. The image stays with you, echoing long after he leaves. You can almost see him carrying them to her, almost hear her delighted laugh when he presents them. And though it burns a little, you find yourself smiling anyway, imagining that somewhere he is capable of such softness. At lunch, a colleague mentions that the wedding is planned for next year. You nod politely, forcing your lips into a smile as if it doesn't matter, but deep inside, your thoughts spiral. You wonder what kind of dress she wear, what kind of music they'll dance to, what vows they'll whisper in front of friends and family. And in the quiet corners of your mind, you picture yourself instead, and then scold yourself for the indulgence. Still, Daniel remains Daniel, sharp, efficient, demanding. He walks past your desk, correcting a line in your report, and though his words are blunt, his sleeve brushes against your shoulder. The faint warmth lingers longer than it should. You clutch your lavender mug tighter, grounding yourself in the simple rhythm of your day. That night, alone in your room, you stare at the ceiling. You replay the sound of his voice when he spoke to Claire, gentler than it has ever been with you. You tell yourself it's right, that he belongs to her, that your feelings are nothing but a shadow. Yet a question lingers, persistent and uncheckable. If he can be that gentle with her, why not with you? You still wonder if it's love you feel, or if it's simply the ache of wanting what you cannot have. Either way, the thought curls up inside you, quiet and unrelenting, as you drift into uneasy sleep. The days roll into each other, each one marked by the same steady rhythm of Daniel's voice cutting across the office, his presence looming like a shadow you can't quite escape. And yet, beneath the surface, something begins to shift. The cracks in his armor appear slowly, almost reluctantly, like sunlight pressing its way through heavy blinds. One afternoon, he calls you into his office with his usual brisk tone. The room smells faintly of coffee and cedar wood, his desk stacked in neat piles of paper. You sit, trying not to fidget, waiting for another critique. But instead of launching into corrections, he pauses, rubbing at his temple as though the weight of the world presses too heavily. For the first time, you see weariness on his face. He sighs, "I'm not sure this presentation works." His voice is quieter, almost uncertain. The admission startles you, not because of the words themselves, but because it's Daniel speaking them. You lean forward, offering a small suggestion, careful, tentative. To your surprise, he listens. Really listens? His eyes meet yours for longer than usual, and though his expression remains stern, there's a softness beneath it. It's only a moment, but it lingers in you long after you return to your desk. Later that week, the office power flickers out during a late-night work session. The sudden silence feels heavy, the hum of electronics cut off. You sit together in the dim light spilling from the city outside, papers scattered across the table. He leans back, loosening his tie, something you've never seen him do before. "Claire hates when I work late," he mutters, almost to himself. Then, after a pause, "She doesn't understand this pressure." The honesty hangs in the air between you, fragile and strange. You don't answer, afraid to break it, but inside your chest, your heart beats too quickly. You're seeing him without the armor, and it makes him more real than ever. You notice smaller things now. The way his hand trembles slightly when he's exhausted. The way he presses the bridge of his nose when the stress is too much. Once, when he thinks no one's watching, you see him close his eyes for just a moment, lips pressed into a thin line, as though he's holding back something heavier than irritation. It makes you wonder what burdens he carries that no one else sees. In these cracks, you find tenderness blooming in places you didn't expect. He still snaps at you sometimes, his words sharp enough to sting. But then there are days when he thanks you quietly, so softly you almost think you imagined it. He once placed a file on your desk with a murmured, "Good work," his hand brushing the edge of your notebook. The warmth of that fleeting touch stays with you for hours, stronger than any harshness he's ever thrown your way. There's a meeting where he forgets his notes and you slide them across to him, catching the flicker of gratitude in his eyes. It isn't much, just a spark, but it makes your heart leap in ways you can't quite control. One evening, you spot him alone in the break room, staring at the coffee machine as though it has betrayed him. You walk in quietly, offer him the last packet of sugar, and for the first time, he laughs. Not a sharp, polite chuckle, but a soft, genuine laugh that escapes before he can stop it. It's short-lived, but enough to etch itself in your memory. The harsh edges of him are still there, but now you can't unsee the gentler lines. The man who listens when he's too tired to pretend. The man who sighs when he thinks no one hears. The man who laughs softly when caught off guard. You tell yourself not to read into it, not to let your heart twist around what could simply be coincidence. But at night, lying awake in the dim glow of your bedside lamp, you can't help replaying it all. The laugh, the sigh, the tremble in his hand. You imagine what it would feel like to be the one he could lean on, the one who sees not just the armor, but the vulnerable man beneath. And though you know he belongs to someone else, you still can't shake the feeling that something unspoken flickers in those quiet moments between you. You still wonder if you're only imagining it, or if he feels it too, just enough to let the cracks in his armor widen, one unguarded heartbeat at a time. The weeks pass, and your routine with Daniel deepens into something unspoken. He still barks orders, still critiques your reports with merciless precision, yet the edges have dulled just slightly. Or maybe it's you who has changed, reading between the lines, finding warmth where others see only coldness. It starts with small, ordinary moments. A brush of hands as you pass a folder across the table. The faint pause in his voice when he says your name. The way his gaze lingers a fraction too long before he looks away. Each moment on its own feels like nothing, but together they build a quiet rhythm, a heartbeat thrumming between you both. One evening, the office is nearly empty when he asks you to stay late again. The two of you sit in the soft glow of desk lamps, the hum of the city just beyond the glass windows. He leans over your shoulder to look at the screen, his cologne surrounding you in a haze of cedar and warmth. You feel your breath catch, but you keep typing, pretending not to notice the way his arm brushes yours. For a long moment, silence stretches. Then, his voice low and quieter than usual. You're more reliable than most people I know. The words are simple, but they strike something deep within you. Your throat tightens, and you only manage a small nod, clutching your lavender mug like a shield. From then on, these moments multiply. He doesn't smile often, but when he does, even if it's brief, even if it's just the faintest curve of his lips, you feel like the only one who's ever seen it. Once, you catch him watching you across the room, his expression unreadable. When your eyes meet, he looks away too quickly, but the flutter in your chest doesn't fade. There are times when words aren't needed at all. Sitting side by side in a late meeting, your knees almost touch, and neither of you shifts away. Walking down the hall, your steps fall in rhythm, as though your bodies have decided for you. The silence between you becomes heavy, charged, filled with questions neither of you dares to voice. And then there are the subtle gestures, those unspoken signs of care that no one else notices. He starts leaving an extra cup of coffee on your desk during long mornings, though he never acknowledges it. He adjusts the thermostat in the office after seeing you shiver once. He even remembers that you always keep the lavender mug on your right side and moves files so it stays clear. You begin to wonder if you're imagining it all, if the warmth you feel is only wishful thinking, stitched together from scraps of kindness. But deep down, you sense it. Something is shifting. The air between you is different now, softer yet heavier all at once. Still there's Claire. She lingers in every shadow of his life, in every phone call that softens his tone, in every bouquet of flowers you glimpse before he takes them home. You remind yourself of the line you cannot cross, the promise he's already made to someone else. Yet, despite the reminder, your heart betrays you. Each accidental brush of his hand feels like a secret vow. Each quiet glance feels like a question left unanswered. One night, while reviewing documents, your hands graze as you reach for the same page. Neither of you pulls away immediately. The contact is fleeting but electric, sparking through your veins. He clears his throat, shifting in his chair, but you catch the faintest flicker in his eyes before he turns back to the papers. When you finally leave the office, the cool night air rushes against your face, and you find yourself smiling. A foolish secret smile meant only for the stars above. You replay the moment again and again, clutching it close like a delicate flame. The longing grows stronger, weaving itself into every glance, every silence, every accidental touch. You start to sense it in him too, the way his harshness softens when it's just the two of you. The way he seems to linger near your desk longer than necessary. The way he looks at you when he thinks you're not watching. And though no words have been spoken, you can feel it. Something unspoken has taken root. A bond, fragile yet undeniable, stretches between you. A longing that neither of you dares to name, but both of you feel in the quiet, restless spaces of your days. You still wonder if he's fighting it too, or if he even realizes the depth of what flickers between you. But in those silences heavy with meaning, you know you're not entirely alone in this unspoken longing. The silence between you has grown thick with meaning, so much so that even the smallest glance feels like a secret spoken out loud. And yet, the presence of Claire hovers constantly, a shadow you cannot ignore. You've heard colleagues talk about the wedding plans, the venues they've toured, the invitations not yet sent. Each word is a reminder that his life is already carved out in a direction that doesn't include you. That life has its quiet way of shifting beneath the surface. One afternoon, you notice he isn't wearing the ring. It's subtle. You only realize when he places a file on your desk and his bare hand lingers on the paper for a heartbeat longer than necessary. Your chest tightens. You don't dare ask, don't dare read too much into it. Still, the absence glimmers in your mind all day, an unanswered question burning quietly. That evening, he calls you into his office. His posture is different, not stiff and guarded, but weary, almost fragile. Papers lie untouched on his desk. The city outside is painted gold by the fading sun, and for once, he doesn't try to mask his exhaustion. I ended the engagement, he says simply. His voice doesn't tremble, but there's a weight behind it, like stones dropped into deep water. It wasn't right. It hasn't been right for a long time. The air between you crackles, charged with the gravity of his words. You open your mouth, but no sound comes. All the longing, all the quiet ache you've carried presses against your ribs. You clutch your lavender mug just to keep your hand steady. He leans back, watching you, his expression unreadable but softer than you've ever seen. I know how people see me, sharp, difficult, maybe even cold. But with you, his voice trails off, his gaze lowering before lifting back to meet yours. With you, I feel human. Your heart stirs, a rush of warmth so strong it nearly overwhelms you. You've imagined this moment countless times, but never like this, never with such raw honesty, never with the vulnerability of a man laying down his armor piece by piece. The silence stretches, but it isn't empty. It's full, brimming with everything left unsaid. You take a small step closer, your fingers brushing the edge of his desk. His hand rests there, close enough that you could reach out and close the space. And when you finally do, just the lightest touch of your fingertips against his, you feel the tension melt into something softer, something steady. He doesn't pull away. Instead, he exhales, a long, quiet breath that feels like release. I don't want to be harsh with you, he whispers, as though admitting a secret. I don't want to be harsh anymore. The days that follow unfold with a gentleness you hadn't dared hope for. He still carries the sharpness of his role, but with you, it softens. There are smiles now, real ones that reach his eyes. There are late-night conversations that drift beyond work, filled with stories and laughter. He still teases your habit of humming softly when you're nervous, but now it's with a fondness that makes your cheeks warm. You notice the small ways he shows his care, the extra sugar packet left by your coffee, the way he walks you to the door at night, the way he glances at your lavender mug and smiles as though it belongs in his world now too. The longing that once felt like an ache shifts into something steady, something shared. No longer an unspoken yearning, but a love that softens every sharp edge, that fills the cracks in his armor with warmth. And sometimes, when the office is quiet and the world outside hums softly, you catch him looking at you with a gaze so tender it makes your heart tremble. It's in those moments, you know, he chose not just to leave his fiancée behind, but to step into something new, something real, something with you. You still wonder, late at night, how it happened, how the harsh boss you once feared became the man whose touch steadies you, whose voice soothes you, whose love is now yours. But then you remind yourself, love is rarely logical. It grows in the cracks, in the silences, in the places no one expects. And this time, it grew right here, between you and him. And now, as the story eases into its ending, let the sharp edges soften in your mind. Picture the office lights dimmed, the city outside glowing in gentle shades of amber, and the lavender mug resting quietly on the desk, no longer a shield, but a small token of comfort. The storm of tension has passed, leaving only calm air, steady and warm. You can imagine the way Daniel's voice sounds now, not clipped, not harsh, but low and even, like the hush of waves against a quiet shore. You can picture his expression, softened by honesty, touched with a warmth that feels safe and enduring. His choice has been made, and in that choice, you are no longer left on the outside looking in. You are seen, cherished, and loved. As you breathe slowly, let your shoulders drop, feel the rhythm of your heartbeat even out. Let the scenes of late-night conversations, shared silences, and tender smiles settle into your mind like feathers falling into place. Each moment is gentle, without rush, without demand. Let yourself drift into the comfort of knowing that sometimes even the harshest edges can be worn smooth by love. That even the coldest armor can crack open to reveal something tender inside. And that sometimes, against all odds, the heart chooses differently, chooses you. Now, as you close your eyes, let the last of the story fade into a whisper. Rest in the quiet knowledge that you are safe here, that love has found its way, and that sleep will hold you softly through the night. Sweet dreams.